What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and I know we talk almost exclusively about Star Wars and comic books on this channel, but I'm also a huge James Bond fan. Basically, ever since my dad used to make me sit down and watch them with him, he was a Roger Moore guy. I don't hold that against him. I actually enjoy basically every different iteration of Bond in one way or the other for different reasons. Maybe unpopular opinion, I really enjoy a lot of the Daniel Craig movies, with the exception of Quantum of Solace, which I think is garbage. But other than that, I've enjoyed Craig's time as Bond and the tone that a lot of these movies have taken. However, this article right here, James Bond exec Barbara Broccoli explains why there will never be a female Bond. People have been talking about this a lot. I wanted to talk about something she said about that, and also something she mentioned about race-swapping characters effectively, and kind of my thoughts on it. So let's get into it. Since it's been announced that No Time to Die, which the trailer for that, I did a reaction on this channel, pretty hopeful for it. I'm a little worried about the writing, but that trailer was sick. Would be Daniel Craig's final movie as James Bond. Hollywood has been having an ongoing conversation about who could replace him as 007 in the franchise's future. And these days, more women are finding leading roles in popular franchises such as Star Wars and the MCU. So why not a female Bond? Longtime franchise producer Barbara Broccoli have explained exactly why it's just not going to happen, in her words. And just before we even get to her quote, so Daisy Ridley is a lead actress in Star Wars, played Rey, a new character for those movies. So why not a female Bond? That doesn't even belong in the same sentence. James Bond is a character. Rey is a character too, one that was created. James Bond's an established character. That's like saying, why can't a woman play Luke Skywalker? Doesn't make any sense. Bad comparison. And here's the quote. He can be of any color, but he is male. I believe we should be creating new characters for women, strong female characters. I'm not particularly interested in taking a male character and having a woman play it. I think women are far more interesting than that. There's a lot of levels to what she says. I enjoy the fact that she says, well, James Bond is male, that will be his character. I think that's something we all want to hear. But he can be of any color was interesting to me. James Bond is based off source material. Ian Fleming wrote books about James Bond. They describe his heritage, they describe his description. He is a white man of, I believe, Scottish and Swiss descent. So it's pretty clear exactly what James Bond looks like and who he is. So it's weird to me that you think you need to create new characters for women, but not for, say, black men or something like that. It's strange to me, but we'll go and read the rest of her thoughts here. There you have it. As simple as that. She's the daughter of Albert Broccoli, who first began adapting Ian Fleming's James Bond character in the 60s with Dr. No. Following Albert's death, Barbara has taken over the franchise with her half-brother, Michael G. Wilson. It's certainly enough authority to tell fans one thing. James Bond will continue to be a male character, yet his ethnicity could be switched up by a future actor who takes up the mantle. Barbara Broccoli's words to Variety followed the backlash that came when it was rumored that Lashana Lynch may be taking the mantle of 007 in No Time to Die, since Daniel Craig's James Bond will no longer be on active duty when the film picks up. Lynch is said to be a prominent agent, but to be clear, the film wasn't expected to set up to have her replace Bond in upcoming movies. And then, of course, we have all these names that always get thrown out whenever you talk about the next James Bond, because Daniel Craig, this is going to be his last one. We thought it might have been the last one before, but they convinced him. They gave him a crap ton of money to come back and do it. Since names such as Idris Elba, Richard Madden, and Sam Heughan have been thrown around as possibilities to continue the James Bond franchise, so is Charlize Theron. But Barbara Broccoli isn't the only one who's against the idea. Daniel Craig's wife, Ava Green, says it just doesn't make any sense to be Bond played by a woman. Agreed. The character is heavily rooted in masculinity, and for a future version to be portrayed by a woman, it would cancel out the character's long history. I feel the same way about race-swapping the character. Barbara Broccoli evidently does not feel the same way. Women can certainly find their own place in the action or espionage genre without having to play the female version of something that's already been made popular by male actors. And they talk about some of the other women involved with this movie, because that's one thing we like to do in Hollywood. We like to count the amount of women and count the amount of people of color involved in producing things, because that's what matters, not the quality. Just ask Stephen King, right? He bent the knee to them pretty quick. No Time to Die certainly looks to be making strides in elevating the Bond girl for the upcoming release. Along with Lashana Lynch, Ana de Armas will star, and Fleabag and Killing Eve writer Phoebe Waller-Bridge has a script credit. One of the things I was worried about this movie. Plus, Billie Eilish wrote the No Time to Die theme song. Hits theaters April 10th, and I will be, unless something strange happens, we get rumors about this movie, I will be there probably opening weekend. I love James Bond. And all this talk, Idris Elba is always brought up. And it's always like, it's time for a black Bond. It's time for a female Bond. I don't understand why. I would love to see Idris Elba introduced as a character that Bond's working with, a fellow 000 agent, and maybe even have a spin-off or something with that character working with MI6. I would love to see Idris Elba, or Idris Elba, I don't even know how you're supposed to say it. I would love to see Idris Elba as in a spy action thriller movie. I'd be totally down for it. But I don't know why you have to give him the mantle of James Bond. Why do you have to take that that clearly established character and change him and race swap him? And I found this article interesting. Does it matter if James Bond's character is black or white? Yes, it does. And this is from Nola Ojomu. And this was back in 2018. And the Idris Elba thing has been going around forever. And this article is very interesting. It's an interesting take to me. So right here, don't get me wrong, someone like Idris Elba has the talent, looks, and charm to play the world's most iconic spy. I can totally understand why so many people would love to see him or another black actor suited and booted, wooing the ladies and saving the world in style. But the fact he is a black man means he simply isn't suited for this particular role. And this article was met with a little bit of criticism when it came out from some people, but it's just true. And she goes in here how the very clear history of James Bond as a character, how he's created, his ancestry, and how he's described in Ian Fleming's books. And then it also says right here, Idris himself has made it clear on several occasions he's not a fan of the idea that the role should be given to a black actor just because of their ethnicity. In 2011, he told NPR, "I don't want to be the black James Bond. Sean Connery wasn't the Scottish James Bond. Daniel Craig wasn't the blue-eyed James Bond. So if I played him, I don't want to be called the black James Bond." It's interesting that the James Bond thing continues to go. I think it's more about we just want to have a black guy play James Bond rather than Idris Elba, the actor, play James Bond. That's the part I'm like, oh, come on. And I could imagine getting sick of hearing that every time someone's like, oh, well, we need the black somebody for this role. And you're like, ooh, Idris Elba. It would probably seem to be like he's just getting brought up because he's black, not because he's a great actor. So I could understand the frustration from him in that point of view. Here we go. Should Disney's next live-action remake be a film where Snow White is actually brown? Would it work if we rebooted the Rocky franchise and made him a woman? A change like that would have to tell a very different story. And God, I do love this article. Instead of having to make changes and tweak key aspects of Bond's story and history in order to cast a black male in the role, studios should spend their money on creating a new franchise that will give Idris and other ethnic actors a chance to become their own James Bond. And I agree. If that's your goal, for some reason as a producer, is you want to make a movie about a black spy, make one. Make this new IP. I don't understand the need to change something that is already very well established into something else. Like I said, I would be really interested in seeing an Idris Elba-led spy action movie, like a John Wick style or something like that. It'd be awesome. Just do it. It doesn't have to be off the back of another character. But those are kind of just my thoughts. I don't usually get into that kind of thing on the channel. That's not really what it's about. But I'm a huge Bond fan, and I'm really looking forward to it. I thought it was interesting that Barbara Broccoli came out and said it'll never be a woman. But yeah, go ahead and race swap. That's fine. It just seems strange to me because if it's you think that women are more important than that, you shouldn't just give them a male role. Then shouldn't you feel the same way about people of color or whatever? That's just kind of my initial thoughts on it when I heard that take. But I want you guys to let me know, do you think it makes sense to go out there with the sole intent of casting the next James Bond to be a person of color, whether they be black or whatever? Or does it make more sense to stay true with the roots and the source material of the character? And maybe if you want to see an Idris Elba movie, go and make one specifically for that. A new character that all of us could get attached to in the same way that we're so attached to James Bond. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video out there, ring the bell for notifications, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.